News Rants, a podcast about news stories that could get a bit ranty. All views expressed on News Rants are those of myself and any contributors. Welcome to the first episode of News Rants. I'm Paul, and I'll be taking a subject on the news, or that's been in the news, and probably just ranting about it. There might be a bit of swearing, there might not be, that just depends on me, really. And you can listen to this in audio, or you can watch it online on, well, hopefully YouTube if they don't cancel me, because they might, but they might not. So, right, I'm going to be ranting about the green environmental types that have decided they're going to basically sit outside fuel terminals and stop us working people from being able to have petrol because they want to stop fossil fuels. So we've got Extinction Rebellion, who's headed by a woman called Gail Bradbrook, who's an absolute hypocrite because she drives a diesel car, and diesel cars are not exactly environmentally friendly. You've got Insulate Britain, that seem to think it's acceptable to glue themselves to motorways and stop people going about their daily business, all just to get the government to make it so people have their houses insulated, and then obviously that protects the environment somehow. I don't actually know. I don't know what their aim is. And then you got this latest crop, Just Stop Oil, that seem to think it's acceptable to lock themselves to petrol tankers, lock themselves in oil terminals, and even one of them went as far as to superglue his hand to a microphone at the studios of LBC in London. And I'm not sure what that was going to achieve. And then there was one, I think he's called Louis or something, can't remember, who is an absolute hypocrite because he cable tied himself to basically a goalpost at Everton's football ground during a match between Everton and Newcastle United. He's a hypocrite because that cable tie is made of plastic, and guess what the plastic's made from? Oil! There you go! How about that? So, we've got these idiots, they're basically causing a bit of a diesel shortage, I have noticed. That's started to happen in the south of England. Whether it's going to get this far north, I don't know. If it does, it does. It doesn't, it doesn't. So, there you go. So, they're all a bunch of hypocrites. And, yeah, anyone who jumps on this green bandwagon seems to be hypocrites. There's a local taxi company to me, I will not name it, that have Go Green, Go Orange on the side of some 71 plate Kia Ceed estates, which are diesel cars. Therefore, they're hypocrites. I'm not going to name the taxi company, like I say, because I don't really want to name and shame them, because, you know, they are a taxi business. They also have Mercedes-Benz cars as well in their private hire fleet, so, yeah, they're not exactly environmentally friendly. And some of their older vehicles are powered by diesel as well, so, you know, they're trying to be like, oh, if you get us, you'll go green. No, you won't. You're hypocrites. But the biggest hypocrite of them all is, you know, Extinction Rebellion's Gail Bradbrook. We all know what happened to her. She got pretty much revealed to be a hypocrite by Talk Radio's Christo. So there you go. That I found very amusing. So, yeah, these protesters, what are they trying to achieve? The climate emergency they claim exists doesn't actually exist as far as I'm concerned. Climate change is a natural thing. It happens. You can't really do anything about it. So, what's to be done about these people? Re-education about what's actually going on, because climate change, it just happens. You can't really say it doesn't. And, let's see. It's not a climate emergency or a climate crisis. Then you've got these people that seem to think that solar panels and wind turbines are a good idea. Not really. And then you get the greenies saying if you frack for shale gas, it causes earthquakes of the size of like what you'd probably expect on the San Andreas fault, which it doesn't. Do they know how the Richter scale works? Obviously not. So that's put a company called Quadrilla in a bit of a difficult position, sadly. Because these greenies actually somehow managed to say to the government, yeah, this is a bad thing, we shouldn't do it, and the government basically banned it. But I think they're changing their mind now, given the situation with Russia and Ukraine. So hopefully fracking might happen. And also the cost of living crisis is a result of these green nutters. So people like me, working class, basically are going to get to that stage where we might not be able to afford anything because of these green nutters that just want to seem to stop fossil fuels. But let's see, they really are hypocrites, because half the stuff they own and use have probably been produced in China, which is one of the biggest polluters and biggest users of fossil fuels. So if they really want to protest against stopping pollution and fossil fuels, why don't they, I don't know, go and protest outside the Chinese embassy in London? How about that? Or whichever country they're protesting in at the time, because I believe this Just Stop Oil movement, like Extinction Rebellion, is kind of a worldwide thing. So, you know, it's just not great, is it? When you've got green nutters like that seem to think, well, let's just protest outside these places and hopefully get the government to listen and stop fossil fuels. That's not going to happen. We're not in the situation where we could stop fossil fuels. So, this is a message for Extinction Rebellion, Insulate Britain, and Just Stop Oil. Why don't you just stop doing what you're doing? And when, the day of recording this, there was 2 protesters from Extinction Rebellion that decided it would be a clever idea to abseil Tower Bridge and hang a banner from either side of it that says "Stop Fossil Fuels," basically closing the road, causing inconvenience for people of our great capital city, London, which they're not inconvenienced enough already, because I do believe Sadiq Khan's gone a bit nuts with the green agenda as well. So, you know, it's just things I hear. I don't really want to go down to London right now. And, you know, so the police took them away, arrested them. So if the police could arrest 2 people that abseiled down the sides of Tower Bridge to hang them banners, then why can't the police arrest these Just Stop Oil protesters that have locked themselves in the fuel terminals and even hid themselves in tunnels underneath fuel terminals, although I believe they've all come out now. I mean, God help us if that's the future. People like that are petrified that the human race isn't going to exist because of the use of fossil fuels. I mean, we still need fossil fuels at the moment. We just have to keep depending on them until the clean, green alternatives are practical and viable. I can't afford an electric car, and charging it I'd be using electricity generated by fossil fuels, no matter how much these companies claim that it's all generated from renewables, which it probably isn't. So, yeah, I can't afford an electric car. I have to drive around in a petrol car, and I will be for some years to come. And, yeah. So if there's fuel shortages starting to happen, that'll be because of Just Stop Oil. There was a queue at the local Tesco petrol station here in Catterick Garrison today, but it wasn't that bad and I was able to fill my car up. So, and there was a delivery of fuel coming in about that time anyway, which was thankful. So the fuel deliveries are still getting out, regardless of what Just Stop Oil are trying to do, and obviously Extinction Rebellion and Insulate Britain. Yeah. So, the green people, they're all hypocrites. You've got Gail Bradbrook, who drives a diesel car. You got that Louis guy who cable-tied his neck to a goalpost using a cable tie that's obviously made of plastic and therefore made using fossil fuels like oil and probably other things as well, because they're petrochemicals, those types of plastics. You can't really make cable ties out of the PLA, which I don't believe has any products of fossil fuels in it. So, you know, they are hypocrites. I don't like them. I keep hearing about them, and it annoys me, and I made a ranty video about them on Twitter a few days ago, actually. Not the other week. A few days ago from time of recording this. So, why have we got these environmentalists just saying, oh my god, the earth is going to burn and die in 5 years if we don't stop using fossil fuels? Even the United Nations have jumped on board this rubbish, and I'm a bit concerned about that. Why would the United Nations jump up on this green agenda? It's ridiculous. I don't get it. I've been on this planet for 40 years. And there's been lots of times where people have come out and said, oh, if we don't change our ways and stop using fossil fuels, we're going to die in like 5 or 10 years. Or places were going to be underwater by the year 2000, which didn't happen, by the way, and such like. So, I don't understand. Why are they doing it? Why do they think that this is the best way to do things? I mean, yeah, if they want to protest, you know, they could do a peaceful protest maybe outside the Palace of Westminster. That would be a good place to protest. People protest there all the time, outside the House of Commons, which is at the Palace of Westminster, or the House of Lords, which is immediately next door at the Palace of Westminster, or maybe, I don't know, if they're really that bothered about pollution, go after the likes of China and India, the biggest polluters in this planet. You've got their embassies in London. Why do they go there? Why do they have to go to the fuel terminals and chain themselves to the pipework and dig tunnels underneath the road and lock themselves to petrol tankers, inconveniencing us working people that need the petrol? And then you've got, obviously, people within Her Majesty's government that seem to think it's a good idea to bankrupt the working classes by saying, oh, you've got to pay this 25%, I think it is, green levy on your energy bills, which I think is just, well, it's theft, really. We shouldn't be doing it, because obviously Boris Johnson wants to reach net zero by, 2030 or 2050 or something like that. I mean, I don't know why he wants to do it. I mean, it's bankrupting the country, and, you know, but... And then, obviously, Rishi Sunak didn't remove that in his spring statement, which he could have done, but he didn't. So, I don't know. What do we do about these green nutters? Do we just let them carry on regardless? Or do we just... Well, I don't know. I mean, when Insulate Britain were doing their ridiculous gluing themselves to the motorway, it didn't take long for the likes of Grant Shapps to basically put an injunction on the lot of them, so if they did try to basically glue themselves to the motorway, which they still did, they would go to prison for a few months. And they did go to prison for a few months. But a lot of them saw that as a badge of honour. And when these protesters were blocking the roads for innocent people trying to get about their daily business, a woman lost her driving licence simply by nudging one of them out of the way. Apparently got done for dangerous driving, which, you know, all she was trying to do was get her kids to school, and the poor lady lost her driving licence because of these eco-nutters. That's just disgusting. I mean, why would you do it? It just makes no sense to me why you would do something like that. I certainly wouldn't. I'm not going to protest against the planet being destroyed by something that's not going to happen. I mean, if it was going to happen, it would have happened already by now. I wouldn't be here telling the tale. The only thing we need to worry about right now is the situation with Russia and Ukraine. That's the biggest problem. The state of the environment, well, we might have contributed a little bit, but I'm all for maybe cleaning up the atmosphere a little bit. But you can't really do anything if China and India, the two biggest polluters on the planet, from what I understand, I think the United States might be in there somewhere as well, and, you know, if they don't do anything, what can you do? So, yeah, green nutters. I don't like them. They're utter hypocrites. They're scared of something that's never going to happen. And, you know, if it was up to me, they would all be arrested and they would all be, done for trespass for these Just Stop Oil nutters, because it is trespass, which is a criminal offence. And, you know, if I have said on Twitter that if my car runs out of fuel because the petrol station can't be supplied because of these Just Stop Oil nutters, then I've said they're going to pay for refuelling the car and having it towed and the rest of it that goes with that. So, you know. So, I've nothing else to add on this subject. So this is the first edition of News Rants, the newest podcast by myself, Paul, and, you know, I'll be doing more news rants very soon. So just keep watching this space. You can catch me wherever you find your podcasts usually, or in vision on Hopefully YouTube if I don't get cancelled. So, until the next one.